Now today's the day we waited for a long time. I'm ready to start the assembly process. As soon as I have my coffee, go feed the fish, feed the birds, feed the parakeets. Oh, I can't wait. I have anticipated this day. This repair took 2 weeks, and every day I had trouble sleeping thinking about what I wanted to do next. And anybody that's ever done this kind of thing, you know what happens. You get all consumed by it. Well, by the end of this day, I hope it's ready to take it back in a twisties. But this is an adventure, and you never know where this is going. And I have a couple other little things I want to do today, so I need to get started early. Now, I expected today would be a rainy day. Doesn't matter. It's not going to stop us from getting anything done. But I do have to do a little rearranging here. I need to make some space to work on this assembly project. And for sure, I don't want to be tempted to do this in a confined spot or when I'm under pressure to do something else. Or Karen has graciously given me a day with a no honey-do list. This is the rarest of rare things, the no honey-do list. So we're going to get the bike in position, feed the fish, have the coffee, feed the birds. It's every morning is quite a little adventure. And the FZR, right from the very beginning, has been quite an adventure. There's a good saying, happy fish, happy life. Boy, these guys, I love my fish. I've had these guys over 20 years now. My son and I, Craig, dug this pond, started our little collection of fish, and pretty much all of them, except for 1 or 2, have been born in the pond. Well, step 1 is to get this guy up on the rear stand. This way I'm working, instead of working while it's leaning over on one side. That'll make that a little bit easier. I want to put a clean towel on the front fender, just in case some bolt or something drops on there. I don't want to chip the paint. Just a little safety thing. Now, there were a lot of little things that worked out just great on this. Having these plug-in bulbs just proved their worth the first time I had to take the fairing off. You can reach right in, unplug them, plug them without any big drama at all. Cleaning up the wiring up here, I spent almost a whole day doing that. That seemed like it worked perfectly. When I rode the bike, couldn't have been happier because I've already ridden the bike. With these handlebars and our new little master cylinder, among other things. In the course of the restoration, there was a lot of little things that I did. A lot of little areas got polished, bolts got taken care of. Things that I normally, well, the wheels really came out nice. When you see the wheels out in the bright sunlight, it looks beautiful. So a lot of the things of this restoration came out way better than I thought they would. And thank you, Glenn, for the gas cap. That really worked out nice. But boy, I'm excited to start bringing parts out. And I got to get the windshield on, have my coffee, and get this going. Now it's funny, I originally started out thinking this restoration would take 6 months. Today is the first day of the 7th month, so I missed it by 1 day. So when I look back to the old videos of the day I started this project, when we still had the Ferrari paint job on it, and I think back, I have spent just over a half a year of my life getting this into where it is right now. And as I look at it, I think it was a pretty good investment because I intend to have this bike for the rest of my life. And I also have a whole bunch of new hardware. I haven't even sorted it out yet. And I've got mirrors that I can see out of. I've got so many things about this bike that I really like. This bike has grown with me. As I've grown old, it's grown old. I guess that's a good analogy. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed sharing this whole adventure as much as I've had making these videos. Well, let me get started. And since I know today's the day I'm going to burn a lot of energy, I put an extra scoop of coffee in there. Maybe I should have put 2 scoops. And so the first step on this whole reassembly is going to be to get the windshield back in place. Now remember, this is not a windshield that's made for this bike. We adapted it. We don't know what it's for because I got it from Pete at Circle Cycle. But I'm looking around to make sure I took some of the scratches out with flits. And the thing when I'm installing this windshield, and it's a good tip no matter what bike you have, put these 2 bolts in hand tight. Don't tighten them. Then put these 2 in hand tight. Then put these 2 in hand tight. Then start here. Tighten them, tighten them, tighten them. What happens if you tighten this one and this one, this bulges out or sucks in, or I've really, in the past, I've broken windshields that I've tried to, I had all kind of issues I had with this FZR. With this bike, I've had 4 or 5 windshields. I've had a clear one, I had a black one, I had the one I made into a carbon fiber one. Then one we got off the internet, a used one for 10 bucks, and that thing, it was in worse shape, had so many scratches, I couldn't even get the scratches out. It looks like he took a hacksaw to it. But anyway, this is a kind of a nice fresh windshield. I've gone over it with flits just to make it a little bit nicer. Ready to do the thing with the bolts, and then we'll be ready to take this outside and start putting parts on. Now originally I was trying to set this up so that the bolts were no bolts stuck out of the nut. I didn't like that look, and I carefully measured these, and what happened is the nut was only catching by 1 or 2 threads. So what I did, I ordered, they were 12 millimeter, if I remember right. I ordered 12 millimeter, these were 10, and so now I'll be able to put new bolts on and catch at least 1 extra thread. And now I don't tighten the bolts, I put a drop of blue Loctite on them. I don't make the bolts so tight they're squeezing and crushing it. Some of the windshield mounts have these rubber grommets. That's probably a good alternative, but a good thing is just hand tighten the bolts with a drop of blue Loctite. And these nuts, by the way, all this stuff is from Bolt Depot. These nuts self-lock into the back of the fairing, so you don't have to put a wrench down in there when you want to tighten or loosen the bolts. These are really nice. And of course, everything I buy bolt-wise is from this place. Very good to deal with. Bolt Depot. What I want to do, I want to take the nuts off. I don't want to do this, try to do it in one step. 1 drop of Loctite. Now little by little I'll snug up the bolts starting in the front. And these are catching the full amount of thread, so this should really be good. A small upgrade, but still an upgrade. Yeah, we're all ready to start bringing stuff out to the garage. Okay, we got everything in out of the rain. By God, a terrible day. And I think this was 2 weeks. There wasn't a lot of good weather in those 2 weeks, so I'm not sure we missed a lot. Now with one side on, of course, and I'm just putting everything, when I put this fairing back on, everything is just loose. And I tighten up the bolts once I get them all in, little by little by little. There's a lot of little things have to happen here. All at the same time. That has to go there. That has to go there. Now what has to happen, little by little, I tighten all 4 of these bolts just hand tight, because I want to be able to move this just a little bit when I put the other pieces of the fairing on. Now with all those bolts in place and hand tight, I can set up. I guess you gotta have nice skinny hands to do this. Here we go. I wasn't sure when I did this if this was going to be convenient or not, but it looks like it could be a lot worse, that's for sure. All right, that's about as good as we can make it. Boy, that worked out nice. John, thank you for the heads up on those switchback bulbs from superbrightleds.com. Now a lot of this job just goes so much nicer and easier when you have new hardware. Boy, it changes everything. And you have just dealing with old rusty hardware, it just makes me crazy. Okay, we got the reserve switch on, it's wired up, we're ready to, let's see, we're ready to put the side panels on next, I guess. And then we have a little bracket that we made here that holds that. Well, see, I've done this a few times, but I haven't done it enough that I can do it blindfolded yet. But we did a lot of work on tightening up this joint. I don't know if that's really going to be any better. We're going to find out right away. The fan switch is on. it's always something you forget, and at the end you go, "Argh!" Now, it's worth mentioning something I found that I find works real well. These nuts. Let me take, I got these, I'm replacing all the old nuts with new ones. What these nuts are good for is what happens is, an example over here, or the windshield, or here's a perfect example where it's very difficult to get your finger up in there and hold it. Well, that nut bites into the fiberglass or into the plastic. And now to tighten this up, I don't have to get a wrench behind it. I can just, it's almost like a blind nut. And it really, these really have just made everything, see, I've got them on the fairing, I've got them on the, and I'm replacing them all. Because what it is, it just makes the next time, let's hope there's no really next time, the next time we have to take the bike apart, all those, I don't need to get wrenches in between everything. I can just spin the bolts out and take them out. It's not quite as good as Zeus fittings, but I think Zeus fittings are ugly. I don't like Zeus fittings. They belong on airplanes. So the next thing is I'll get the side panel over here and just hand tighten it all up and see if that's going to fit in as good as I hope it will. Now the nice thing about the way Yamaha has made this, if I get that bolt just hand tight, I can get the other bolt in hand tight and hopefully then do a real good alignment on these top ones, which have to, that joint that I was working on. Now these nuts actually make this a little bit easier because I really can hold it with my bare hand until it bites into the fiberglass, and I'm pretty much done. And especially these that are a little tricky to get to. Again, my problem is I have fat fingers. I'm glad I don't want to play the piano. And some of these are real tricky to get to, but those nuts make it a whole lot easier. Boy. Now, a lot of these bolts are just a pain in the ass. You got to lay around. That's why I have carpeting on my garage. And by the way, carpeting is a lot more fun to lay on in the cold winter. Even though I have a lift, most of the time I'm too lazy to put the bike on the lift. Alright, so this now gives me an adjustment. And I can back this out just a little bit, in fact. Because I have that special bottom brace. That's nice. It's just a labor of love. Now with this side done, I can go by and just make sure all of the screws that hold this on are torqued in real nice. And side one is done. I'm checking every possible thing here. That side is done. The little brackets that I had to make up here, they worked out great. Boy, that fairing is really on there. And by the way, when that bike hit, that fairing really did protect the bike. I'm not sure that's what it was designed for, but... And what really saved our bacon, most of all, the old Norton muffler now is all crushed here. We got, of course, have a new one ordered. But I have some other ideas for exhaust systems that I want to experiment with in the future with this bike. Because here's what happened, and I'm going to think about this. Just put this out there for anybody that's got an idea. When I made the mufflers for the R1, I made a mold. I have some extra machined end caps. When I machined them, I machined extra ones. And actually, I have everything. The only thing I need to do is get another pipe. And I was thinking maybe I'll just make a custom carbon muffler to play with. Or I know Luciano has an extra muffler for his ZX10. Maybe he would like to loan me that muffler. We'll see. Anyway, just something to experiment with. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. Now, getting this side on, I need a coffee break. Wow. It's hot out here. It got humid and hot. It started off being cold. It got humid and hot. Jeez, what a day. Now, I haven't taken the old muffler off because I haven't gotten the other one from Dime City yet. Probably a couple more days. And I want to, of course, replace this. And unfortunately, I can't turn it the way the brackets are on this. I can't really turn it. See, if it were the old style carbon muffler, I could just turn it and put the clamp back on it. Although I probably could make a different clamp and think about it. Yeah, doesn't matter. I'm going to have a new muffler very soon anyway. And if for some reason they're out of stock or whatever, then I'm going to experiment with making my own muffler again. And that might make an interesting video. So it's really worked to my advantage having all this new hardware, because one by one I'm replacing these. And some of them actually are in really bad shape. They've taken a beating, and some are whatever. But always having enough hardware, and that is on my list of stuff to do, is to get a bigger set of trays that I can sort the bolts a little bit more workmanlike anyway. I guess we'll find out. But anyway, this is all going together well, and it's a good time to take a break. And see, one of the ideas I was thinking about is making a little piece of sheet metal that would connect here to here, block this off so I could see this stripe. That would really be a nice style thing, but I don't know if I have enough clearance in here. I'd have to use a piece of relatively thin aluminum, I guess, and then maybe I don't know how hot this engine gets. It probably doesn't get hot enough right here that it would burn the paint. I don't know, but this would be a thing for a future experiment. And that's what I enjoy most about having these old bikes, is tinkering and tonkering and just seeing what I can come up with. Now this will definitely speed up putting the second side on. By a lot, by the way, by a lot. And as we're taking a break, we have a cardinal keeping us company here. Very rare. They like to eat off the ground, but I guess they're hungry today. Sick of watching me laying on my back out in the garage. Feed me, Seymour. Now we're probably only a few days away from having the whole top of our pond, that wisteria, will wake up some morning and the whole thing will be beautiful purple flowers. They're all budding up already. Now time to get back out to what we love best. The next thing is to get that panel on. Same scenario. Same locking nuts. First one went actually pretty good. But having a new hardware just works so well for me. Some people don't care. Boy, I just love working with brand new hardware. Of course, not all of these bolts are just super convenient to get to, but you got to go to war with the army you have. Yeah, the only thing left is that little custom bracket we had to make, and that will go, that's the last bolt that goes in, and then we can just look around and see that, wow, this side went together pretty well. Now the next thing on this is to fit up the mirrors. Relatively straightforward. I want to get those little pieces of sandpaper in there. I've cleaned off all the finish off of the bar so I get a good bite. I want those clamps to get a good bite. Now having these nice and tight, big time to my advantage. Not having to over tighten the screws. Those little strips of sandpaper are a great idea. And even if these screws aren't as tight as what you would think of it, you can't move that at all. I have that other set of mirrors that I could use for fairing mounts if I decide I want to try different ones, but I think these are going to be fine. And you know what? It helps if you put the mirror that belongs on this side, on the right side. Now I know you can flip these, but I don't want to flip them. See, I didn't figure that through. See, that's the problem with being old. So we will put this on the correct side. Now, the reason I said that, I didn't do this on purpose, of course. I don't want to move this joint around, because that joint, I have it pretty well set where this is going to be. I don't want to, if there's any chance I'm going to hurt the paint or scar it there, I don't want to do that. So now, to be honest, I've never been a gambler, but I always think about this, that 50-50 thing. It could be wrong at 50-50, and when I do anything 50-50, you think half of the time I'd be right? 3/4 of the time I'm wrong. So how does that work? Okay, so this is, now we're not going to do a final set on these until I sit on a bike, but I'm guessing that's going to be close. And for $14 and a little bit of paint, I think we've got a nice set of mirrors here. And one thing I really love about this bike, that I can see behind me. Boy, that is so nice. That could not have worked out better. I even put, there was a bolt thread showing here. I put a little cap on that, and it's actually yellow to match. Wow. Those are the little details I love. Now, this is a future project. Not going to even think about working on this today. What I did, I just made a little template out of cardboard. See, then I can, from an artistic point of view, I'd like to be able to connect that bar. I don't care about that hole up there. And paint this black, paint this white, and make that a removable piece, somehow easily removable, just in case it for some reason doesn't work out, or if I just, as time goes by, I don't like it, that I'll be able to take that on and off very easily. Now, if I make it, I'm going to take an ink marker and mark that up just to see what it looks like. And again, it's always little ideas you get along the way that seem to result in just a nicer, more custom look. And I think that would add a big touch to the motorcycle. I made a little pattern here. As I'm making a pattern, it sounds like there's a big emergency outside. Fire engines going by. Just put a piece of tape here. I want to see what this looks like before I make any commitment, because I'd have to leave some little way of mounting it, of course, and I have to decide if I want to make it out of a sheet of aluminum, thin aluminum. Now, on this side, it looks like there's a lot less clearance, but I know I can bend that, loosen that bolt and bend that out a little bit. And this bike has never shown me any signs ever of overheating, so I think that's not going to be an issue. So that little piece in there, even though we didn't make it accurate, of course, and it's not high gloss black, but that still allows that stripe to be more dominant, and that's of course what we were striving for right from day one. So that's a future project. We're pretty much done here. I want to think about, because a project like this is never really done, it's ongoing. So the pattern is just going to allow me, and of course this is what always happens to me, is I get a brainstorm or an idea and then I think about it for a couple of days. Maybe I won't want to do this, maybe I will, but the one thing about doing this kind of a project is you want to be sure that it's removable. If you don't like it, or in the worst of all worlds, if now it did something with the airflow. I think this is plenty big though. I mean, this is not, maybe if you were doing track days, we're done with track days, so this bike is kind of like me, kind of in semi-retirement. But that would add a lot, I think, from an artistic point of view. That would add a lot to the look of that stripe. And that stripe, the ladders, is the defining feature of the motorcycle. Now really, the next step on this is going to be to get the muffler or get a replacement muffler. I have to check in with Dime today and see if they can let me know. They're probably out of stock, because I thought in the past I'd gotten it in 3 or 4 days, but we'll find out. I'm sure these are made in China, that's for sure. 80 bucks, by the way, and I really do like those mufflers, but I do have other choices, and I'm going to, the first choice of this whole thing would be to have an original Yamaha EXUP system. Now I have the servo and I have the cables and I have everything. I don't have the unit. I don't have the correct, I think they replaced this whole exhaust with some kind of racing exhaust, but in my opinion it'll always run a little bit better with the stock exhaust, but needless to say, you can't get one. Then the other choice is I can make one. It's certainly not out of the realm of making one, or I can find one that I think is going to be appropriate for this. I do like the look of the Norton mufflers, and they do sound great. That's another thing. And they seem to work well on every bike I've put them on. Now I'm going to look up in the bowels of the earth here. Up on the rafters of this garage. Well, I can't imagine when I die where this stuff is going to all wind up. I've got literally, I'm assuming someday the garage roof will collapse with all the crap I have up here. And what I have tub after tub after tub of parts that over the years, of course, I've saved all the old shit. I'm a shit saver. I'm sure you can't even see up here because there's so much crap. It goes right to the rafters. There's wheels, there's fairings, there's all kinds of stuff. And there's a box with a whole bunch of RD stuff. And there's a box full of R1 mufflers. So among the stuff I have, these are the original R1 mufflers. And I made these carbon fiber parts. These are not aftermarket parts. I made them. I made a mold and molded them right over the part that I had. And we used these for a while. And I'm wondering if there's any parts of this I can use. And I've always saved the old stuff. You never know when you, as an example, you can use the clamp or the bracket, or you need a piece of titanium. But what I really want to think about, again, I have to think about, because even when I get the muffler from Dime, I want to maybe do a little experimenting. And that's why a project like this never really ends. There's always things to try, always things I'd like to improve on. It's unending. It really is. And that's what makes it so exciting. So what I did, I took down the 2 stock mufflers just for, well, I don't know why. Just something to think about, something to see if I can use parts. And those carbon fiber parts have asbestos so they don't get hot inside. I remember making them. That was a long time ago. I've had this bike for 10 years. But up in a dustbin, I do have enough material already. I already have the shells molded. Well, I could make something very similar to this, and I could make it pretty much any length. So it'll give me something to work on this summer. Well, this has really been a long 2 weeks of repair, putting this baby back together. I am so happy. I can't even tell you. Anyway, we still have to deal with the muffler one way or another. There's certain parts of this that have worked out beyond what I ever thought they would, and have made, I'm sure they will make the bike even more enjoyable to ride in the future. So I hope you're enjoying the videos, enjoying this great adventure, which is now in its 7th month, and we still don't know where we're going until we get a rideable day. Anyway, I guess the last thing I wanted to say here today is, if you're restoring something and you crash it, don't give up. It can be repaired. That's the lesson here. It can be just as good as new. You just have to do it. Anyway, thanks for watching.